Greetings, Glitter Gang, and happy Thursday. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, August 18th. You're here for Kathryn Scraps Live. My name is Kathryn, and today we are going to be crafting live from the Christmas in July project, which is this split decision album that combines pockets, folders, etc., etc. And where we left off is we had just finished the kind of basic construction. We still have to add magnets. If we want to add magnets, we still have to add any additional pockets and such that we want to add. Yeah. Okay. So, few things to talk about. I don't know why this happened, but oh, I guess not. I guess I just can't see. I was like, I don't know why these printed bigger than the folders, but I think that they're about the same size. So never mind. Okay, so let's flip through the paper. Let me tell you what I printed. And then we will talk about how some of the things I printed gave me some ideas for more construction to do so that we may not be completely done with construction. Okay, so this is Dreaming of Sugar Plums from Paper Phenomenon. And the ones I'm going to show you first are from the 8.5 by 11 kit. So there's an 8.5 by 11 one and there's a 12 by 12 one. So the 8.5 by 11 one is designed to be printed from your printer at home. It has 3 different kind of fold outs of by the way, my printer malfunctioned like 75% of the way through filming. It needs to have its printer heads cleaned. I just or not filming, but getting ready for the show, I literally did not have time to do it. So you're going to see that some of them look pretty poor. And these are the ones on top are the ones that printed last. So quality is going to improve as we go down. All right. So this is also from, so that's all to say that this is not necessarily representative of what these look like. You can, I don't know if you can see it, but my printer's printing lines through it. It's fantastic. It's just what I needed today. So anyway, but this is what they are. They're kind of like meant to fold in half for journals. And these are them. So this paper collection is kind of what I envisioned for these green ones. So we're definitely going to continue to do, I'm still thinking that's the way to go. So that hasn't changed. All right, so then we have this one, which is, these are not exactly solids, but kind of solids, glitter. This is, if you know Punchinella, this is the opposite of Punchinella. And then we have polka dots, this random, my printer doesn't, whatever, let's not worry about it. Okay. Now these are more traditional solids again. My printer had already been malfunctioning at this point. You can really see it on this one, the stripes. Like I said, I just need to clean the print heads and it'll be fine, but I just did not have time to stop and clean the print heads. So here's another one where you can kind of really see the banding. So anyway, what I'll probably do is, not before tonight, but before next week, is reprint the kind of back half of these so that they're a little bit nicer quality and you can see better. All right, so now we're into, okay, so this is all the solids. All right, I don't know how much of these we'll use today. I'm going to try to avoid using them again just because they didn't print correctly. So this is not, necessarily what they would look like if they had printed correctly, but they're here. If we want to use them, they are here. Okay, so those are the solids. This is from the 12 by 12. And then here's some of the embellishments. These I didn't really know were in there. I think they're hilarious. This is very, for those of us where it's always hot for Christmas. It's so cute. So anyway, all right, so here's one of the first things that made me think I want to do some construction stuff, and it's these tags. I want to modify this piece, I think, so that they can go, and I'm going to cut them apart just kind of roughly so you can get an idea. I mean, we'll cut them better later. But okay, what I'm thinking is I want to kind of make 3 lightly angled pockets like this on the front so that they kind of tuck like that back and forth like that. That's going to require some construction. Okay, so to figuring that out, but I think that'll be cute if all the fronts of these have those. So I'm just gonna make a separate little stack of these, and then we'll work on how, you know, exactly how big our angled pockets need to be and the like to fit them. But I think it would be nice to deliberately incorporate them into the design. All right, okay. So some other stuff in terms of embellishments. I do have, these are what's left over, what didn't get printed here. And then all of these, I had the time to add embellishments to the bottoms of them. So we've got all the different embellishments on here. I even have lines in here. This is such a bad print job. I'm really kind of annoyed. Because it's not like this paper is cheap. I think this was the last good print. This one. This was the last good. Look at the difference. I only printed the cats. I didn't print the dogs, but just know that there are dogs and cats in the collection. All right, so here's all the papers and embellishments. So there's quite a lot to pick from. I guess I printed this one twice. Cool, cool, cool. So, all right, so there we go. So first things first, I want to figure out the construction for these. And the easiest thing is going to be to just cut one out to get a really clean measurement. And then we'll have to stiffen them up somehow. And what I might do is cut off this gray part and just mat them on red, green, whatever. I think this gray part is to make it easier for your machine to see the tags and cut them out that way so you don't have to hand cut them. As you all know, the brother and I don't get along. Okay, so 3.5 by 5 3/4 is what these are. All right, 3.5. All right. So what we're going to want to do is make our pockets or slits or whatever we do. They need to be 4 by 4 3/4 if we want like an inch of the tag to peek out. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's get a notepad. Am I recording? Yes. Okay. Panic. I don't know where my current notebook is. I'll just switch to a new one. Oh, this is the notepad I made with the planner. Remember the planner? The planner. All right. The planner from hell. Okay, so let's measure because I don't remember anything that we were doing. So this is 5.5 inches wide. Length is 11, right? Yeah. All right, 11 by 5.5. Okay, so that's what we're working with. Okay, so $11 by 5.5. All right. Now, I think the best thing to do is just to have 3 slits. The thing, so what that would mean is in order to have this pocket, right, we would need a piece of paper that could go on top of this. So it would need to be 11 inches by 5.5, except it needs to be by 7.5 because it needs flaps on either side to tuck under. So we need a piece that's 11 by 7.5. And then we need 2 pieces that are 2 inches by 5.5 to enclose the top and enclose the bottom. All right. Okay. And we want those out of our red. So, which is maroon. And then I'm going to check scraps because I do think, yeah, we have scraps we can use for sure, for sure. We can get the strips out of these. Probably can get the strips out of these too, actually. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need a total of these are 5.5 already, so we'll just use those. All right. Okay, this is gonna be fun. All right, so what we're gonna do is these, I forget what fail these were, but whatever. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna cut them at 2 inches. And then I'm gonna put them at 1 inch. And I'm gonna score. And then cut at 2 inches. We need 6 of these, right? We have 6 pages. Or 3 pages, so we need 6 of these. Yeah, I think we have 3 pages. All right, so that's half the ones we need. All right, here's 4. So we just need 5. And 6. All right. Okay. So now we've got those 6. And I am going to I'm going to fold them all in half. And I'm not going to angle their corners until they've been taped, actually. So I'm going to fold them in half. And then we will cut the ends that we don't need off. I'm going to miter them. All right. Okay, so that's our 3. Now we need, so that's those. So I just need now to do 11 by 7.5. Oof. I'm actually going to just do 11 by 5.5 and then add strips because I'm just running quite low on paper. And I don't have any more maroon. So that way I can get 2 of them out of one sheet. And then we'll just use our scraps, of which we have many. I hope everyone had a nice break. I know and that you're all enjoying your summers. All right, here's 2. Just need 1 more. It has been hot, hot, hot. My goodness. Horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. All right. So now I'm going to keep this big piece because it's over 6 inches, so I can, you know, get some good use out of it later. And I'm just going to grab these narrower scraps. And we're just going to cut these down to size. All right, so it's the same thing. I'm going to put them at 1, score, cut at 2. Oh, I only got 1 out. That sucks. And we went and saw the Top Gun movie this week, recently, since I last saw you. And now I am reading The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe. Gosh, Tom Wolfe is such a good narrative nonfiction writer. I mean, he's really incredible. And his talent doesn't just start with the writing itself, but just his ability to embed himself in a group or a culture where they trust him and tell him all their secrets is really, like, that's part of what makes him so great, because the stuff people say in front of him, even knowing he's this journalist and writer and whatever, like, you know, and he's gonna, like, there's no reason to believe he's not gonna spill all your secrets, and yet the stuff that people tell him, it's like, what are you thinking? Stop talking. You're not making yourself look good. Stop, stop, stop. So interesting. But yeah, he's put a forward. There's a forward in the book now about why it was written, and it was because when he interviewed the astronauts and asked them, like, you know, what makes a person want to get up in something that's only ever, like, exploded and go be an astronaut, they didn't know. They didn't have an answer. No one could tell him why. You know, why would you do this? 2, 4, 6. All right, we've got all the pieces we need. And since no one could tell him why, that's what he wanted to find out. But of course, like, you know, he just did such meticulous research, and, you know, people trusted him when they shouldn't have. So, and it's just so interesting. With, like, one of the most interesting things is he mentions in the book that all pilots talk the same. Even still to this day, they all have the same kind of, like, folksy drawl, like, hey everybody, what's up, it's your pilot, everything's cool up here in the cockpit, nothing to worry about. You know, they all talk the same. They have the same cadence, the same accent. All pilots, no matter what kind of pilot they are, they all talk like this. And he says, and this is what's completely kind of crazy, is that this persists till now. You know, we all know, like, there is a kind of cadence and accent that all pilots kind of have. And he says that what they all talk like is Chuck Yeager. They all talk like Chuck Yeager. Every pilot, it's so pervasive now. Like they pick it up from each other. No one even knows that they're all picking up Chuck Yeager's accent, but they all pick up. Even pilots, I mean Chuck Yeager. You know, pilots have never met Chuck Yeager, have nothing to do with it. They all they have created their own kind of accent, dialect, way of speaking, whatever, and its origin is Appalachia, coal country. And I guess Chuck Yeager's way of speaking when he was in the plane was kind of modeled after like the bosses of coal mines, gas mines, the way that they would talk during an emergency. That's where it comes from. And so that's the origin, and that's why Chuck Yeager talks that way. But then the reason the rest of them all talk that way is because that's the way that Chuck Yeager talked, and it worked for Chuck Yeager, and it ended up working. It's so interesting. Just anyway. All right, so now we're at this point. What we're going to do is we're going to fold along all the score lines in burnish. And we are going to then put tape on these and attach them to our longer pieces. Anyway, if you haven't seen the movie The Right Stuff, but if you liked Apollo 13, you would like The Right Stuff, I'm sure. It's all the same people, really. But also the book is very, very excellent so far. So, all right, now that we've folded them all, I'm going to burnish. These haven't been burnished. I only folded them. But yeah, it's so, I think one of the things that's so interesting is how we, you know, there's a couple points he's trying to make. One is the pilots, I don't know, that really they're just, I don't know. It's just an examination of a subculture, right? Is ultimately what it is. But he's trying to figure out, you know, what it is that makes them tick or whatever. And they all keep talking about the right stuff. In fact, they talk about the right stuff so incessantly that it's almost like it has no meaning, which of course, you know, Tom Wolfe is repeating this phrase over and over and over again as a reason for anything. And I'm sure it's because it was repeated to him ad nauseum. And, you know, in other words, they don't know. This is just what they say. You know, ask them to define what the right stuff is. They don't know what it is. They just know when someone doesn't have it. And the way, you know, if someone dies in a crash, that's when they say, well, he didn't have the right stuff, you know. And so, but they don't know what the right stuff is. They just know what it's not. So the only way to know if you have it, you can't know if you have the right stuff. You can only know if you don't. But there's a few things they're all sure of. They all know Chuck Yeager has the right stuff. That's so interesting. And what's so interesting too about Yeager is, like, when Tom Wolfe is talking to the Navy guys, because Yeager was in the Army, you know, they all like try really hard to convince him that like Pensacola is the place to be, you know, if you're a pilot. Only the best aviators are in Pensacola. They tell him aviators all the time. Army Air Force doesn't have, Army Air Force has pilots. They don't have aviators, except that Yeager's in Edwards Air Force Base, and that's where they all want to be. That's where they all want to be, because like he's the only one that everyone knows for sure has got the right stuff. So interesting. It's so interesting. And you know, of course, he's not in the space program, which is, you know, but he's covered extensively in the book, because I think that, you know, he's who they all want to be. So I think that's why Wolfe is spending so much time on him. But yeah, it's really interesting. Of course, you'll learn a lot about the early space program, test piloting, etc. One of the things in that he talks about when he talks about Jaeger is Jaeger's like the first pilot. They capture a MiG at some point. They get possession of a fully operational, fully functioning MiG, and then Chuck Yeager is who they get to fly it because they don't have a manual. They don't know anything about it. So he's the one that they put in it and tell him to figure it out, and he just does figure it out. But he's also crazy. Like, that's what's so interesting is, like, well, I don't know if he's crazy. He's like, so he gets drunk, and I don't know if he steals a horse or if there's just a horse there or what. He decides while drunk to horse race somebody. And he has a major flight the next day. He's supposed to try and get a plane to go beyond the speed of sound. And they've been trying and trying and trying, and it's just not been working. And they're going to attempt it again the next day. He should be home, you know, resting, whatever. But all these pilots do is they go out and get drunk because every day they don't die, you know. So he's drunk, racing a horse, and they come across a fence, and the horse doesn't jump, and he can't turn the horse because he's not that good at, you know, racing horses or whatever. And he gets thrown from the horse, and he gets super injured. He goes to a doctor in the next town over instead of the military doctor, because if he goes to the military doctor and there's something wrong with him, he won't be able to fly. So the town doctor's like, you broken several ribs, you can't move your right arm, you know, you just need to take it easy. And so he's like, okay, cool. So he goes to do the test pilot thing, and he's literally so injured he can't even open and close like the parts of the plane that he has to open and close to get in and out of it. And so he confides in someone about his injury, and they rig a broom handle to help him like reach things that he can't reach because his arm is so messed up and his ribs are so messed up. And that, it's just, yes, he was not eligible for the program because he didn't go to college. That's correct, Judy. Now the question is, would he have wanted to go in the program or not? Because one of the things also that that Wolf is alluding to in the book is that they don't really fly in the program. You know, so you have these hotshot pilots who decide to become astronauts because they think they're going to fly to space, but they're not. Like, that's not, you know, exactly right. Which is not to say that people don't want to go to space just to go to space, and he might have been interested in that. But some of them, like the real adrenaline junkies, kind of are bored by the space program, which is really interesting as well. It's like, because it's a lot different than what they're used to, you know. So it's really just, it's an interesting time or whatever, but yeah, it is kind of wild that the guy that pretty much everyone thought was the best pilot in certainly the United States at the time was not eligible for the space program. So, but Eisenhower said that they didn't really need pilots, you know, because what they were doing was so basic, that literally anyone who'd ever operated any, you know, heavy machinery could probably do it. The reason they went with pilots is because they didn't want to have a pool of like 50,000 applicants that they had to weed through. If they went with test pilots, then there were only like 90 people who they would have to pick from. And so that was why they went with test pilots. But even there's like, he even said that they didn't even need pilots. It could be anyone who, like, even someone who operated a tractor could do it. Was kind of, there's like that's one of the things they're talking about. Like, if you know how to work a combine, you can do this, whatever. And I'm not sure if that's true now, you know, but certainly then I think that they really didn't think that the people mattered. They being the NASA scientists, which is so, and now they put the scientists are the ones that do it, right? But, you know, this is early stages. They haven't refined anything, etc. So yeah, it's all, I'm not very far. They just finished the physical testing, and where I left off was the big press conference where you know, Scott Glenn, is it Scott Glenn? Glenn, whichever Glenn. He takes over because the other guys don't know how to answer the questions, and he gives all the right answers or whatever. And they ask him if they think they're going to come down again or whatever. And they're all like, yeah. So, they're like, why would we do it if we think we wouldn't? But Tom Wolfe even talks about how even that's kind of a like wild mindset, because test pilots had a 23% fatality rate, which for any job at all, that is totally John Glenn. That's right. Scott Glenn is the actor. I always mix them up. So, yeah. That's like can you imagine a job that had, where you had pretty much a 1 in 4 chance of dying? So anyway, like I said, there's a movie. The movie's great, but the book's been a lot of fun so far as well. But I think Tom Wolfe, as far as narrative nonfiction, I mean, he's just so talented, and his ability to get people to open up to him and to talk to him is really part of what makes his books so good. Is that there must have been something about like sitting with Tom Wolfe. He has an ability to, you know, just pull out what they have inside or whatever. But yeah, he's got when Chuck Yeager becomes the first person to break the sound barrier, what he says is, I think there's something wrong with my machometer because it's showing 1. So, because that's when you break the sound barrier, I guess, and no one had ever done it. And there were scientists who really believed that it would never be possible to make anything that would go faster than the speed of sound. So, I don't know. Now, what's so interesting is the way that the Top Gun movie starts is they're trying to break Mach 10. That's what they're trying to do. So, they're doing test flight stuff to try and get a plane to go above 10. But yeah, the Top Gun movie, definitely better than the first one. My goodness. We rewatched the first one and we were unimpressed. This one is very different. The Top Gun movie, I mean. But anyway, you can watch the Right Stuff movies from the 80s or something. So it has the guy from Babe in it. As their boss at the test pilot program, I think. Yeah. All right. But anyway, okay, so now we've got all our strips. So I'm going to take 2 long ones and 2 short ones, and we're going to put together a pocket with one of the bits of paper. Did I lose them? Did I put them in the scrap bin, perhaps? Yeah. Good work, self. Yes, Cromwell. Yeah, he's a great actor. Great character actor. Okay. I think he just hates all of them. Or so. All right, now what we're going to do is line these up. All right. And then these shorter ones I have to trim because I didn't cut mine. But obviously you'll just make yours the correct size. initially. All right. Now what we're ultimately going to want to make is a template. Once we have everything positioned exactly right. So, okay, so now we've got this. So I'm going to just miter the corners. And all I'm doing is putting, you know, the intersection of the lines right there. All right. Now, we're going to figure out how to lay them down. Okay. So, let me get my taggies. And I may have messed myself up by only cutting one. I think I'll need to cut two more so I can kind of lay them all out at the same time. And again, I have linked the paper down below in the video description if you're watching live. If you're not watching live, this is Dreaming of Sugar Plums. The 8.5 by 11 pack is where these tags come from, right? Or no? Oh, I don't, no, they come from the 12 by 12. They come from the 12 by 12. I'll be using both paper packs in this project, but these, I believe, specifically come from the 12 by 12. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna place them. What I'm gonna do is on the back, I'm gonna place them in the reverse of what I want. So I want this, that way I can draw around them. All right, so I want that one there, and then that one there. We're gonna have to figure out how to get them to stop. We're gonna have to do some construction magic. And then I'm just gonna pull these two out from underneath this one so I can go all the way around it. And then this, I'll finish all the way around this one as well. All right, so let's talk about problems, right? What problems we might have. So here's what we've got to overcome, all right? So it's no problem to cut a slit right here and right here. So I can cut a slit from here to here, right? That we can put this tag down. We need something to stop the tag at the bottom. For this one, it's not that big of a deal because the bottom would stop it anyway. But, you know, theoretically, we do need a bumper here. That's no problem, right? The problem is this one's bumper, okay? How do you make a bumper for this one that doesn't interfere with this one? One way we can do that is by just making the bumper this wide, okay? That's fine, that works for that one, but then we come up here and it's like, well, how do we do this one, right? How do we do this one? So that's what we have to figure out. Now, if this was a straight down the line pocket, there is a way we can do that by making slits in the bumpers so things can go past, you know, if we want. But I just have to think through. All right, so if we have a bumper right here, right here and right here, how are we going to do this? Okay, so I didn't do any adjustments with the book list. That's a good question, Judy. Which is that, you know, I had said maybe I didn't want to read another multi-generational family novel so close to Great Circle, and that is what we had with A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza. And that I was going to look into updating it, but then, of course, everything happened with the cat, and so I didn't do anything with the book list. So basically these are the two choices for August that I have, which are that we just read and discuss A Place for Us, or that we take August off, If you recall, when we started doing this, the goal was to read 10 books a year. We have 13 books on the slate for this year. We have 3 spare books, so we can just take August off. So it's really up to you how much you're all intrigued by A Place for Us, because what we can do is we can just cut A Place from Us from the list, just skip August and not have an August book club, or we can just read it and not worry about it. So, all right, okay. So what we need is a way. Well, here we go. All right, if I put a bumper right here, just this section, okay? So like from here to here is where we put our bumper, right? As long as I make the slit for this so that it enters below the bumper, then it's no problem. I can attach the bumper all the way across. Does that make sense? All right, so what I mean by that is if I put a bumper here and a bumper here, just little half bumpers just to manage their corners, then this one will slide past this bumper. The bumper won't be in the way. And this one, if we make this one's slit right here, then it will be under the bumper and it won't be in the way. So that's how we do it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I think it does. You're smart. You get it. You get it. Okay. All right, so what we need to do is we need to make our bumpers. I'm going to make them just 1 inch divided in half because I have a lot of 1-inch scraps. So, and we're trying to conserve as much paper as we can. Okay, so I'm going to just fold this in half or score this. And I should probably only need one of them. All right. So again, for book club, and I'll bring it up again at the end and we can maybe vote on it tonight so people can percolate on it. But it's between taking August off and not having a book club discussion for August, or possibly we could just have we still haven't had the Great Circle book club. We could have the Great Circle book club discussion at the end of August and just push the Great Circle back. So the question is, are we going to take August off, or are we going or are we going to just read A Place for Us? And it's up to me, or well, it's up to me. That's funny. It is up to me, but you can weigh in. What I meant to say is, either way, I will probably be fine. Preference-wise, I might just prefer not to. I really to take August off because there is just a lot that's been going on around here for us. So, all right. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark about 1/8 of an inch over from where it needs to be so that it will definitely be narrower. All right. And that's just where this one goes. I'm gonna cut its corner up here a little bit just because it is right up next to the edge there. So yeah, take the month off or just leave the schedule as is. I'm just going to draw 1/8 of an inch line down below where I want that. Okay, just so I have something to put this against. All right. And then I'm going to stick a little piece of tape on here as well, just to make it a little easier to slide stuff in. All right, so there we go. All right, now as far as, you know, where are we going to cut our slit? That's what we want to figure out next. And I want to cut the slit about 4 3/4 up from where I want the piece. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 3/4. Okay, so with this one, I can't do that. I can really only do 4 1/4, but really 4 is the best. So let's go ahead and let's just say it's going to be 4 inches up from the bottom of the tag. All right, so that's the slit for this guy right here. Okay, so it's going to get cut here. So when this tag goes in, the tag's going to enter here and go down from here. And so it's going to bypass, okay, it's going to bypass this little flap. Okay, theoretically. So right here and right here, these intersections, those are where we're going to punch our hole for our slit. All right, so I'm going to need the big crocodile for this, the big bite, to get to this one. So I'm going to use the 1/8 inch. I'd prefer to use the 1/16 inch, but it's not going to reach. All right. All right. Okay, so now we're just going to do like we normally do when we make these holes for slits, and we're going to connect, you know, the dots basically. All right. Oops. We didn't get all the way through. That's okay. That's okay. All right. So there's our slit. Okay. So this is how the pocket's going to look. And we're awfully close to the edge. It's not the end of the world, but there we go. Look at that. We're in. It's not touching. We have successfully done that corner. So we have two more. We need to put one on this corner to keep this corner lifted. The only cultural event that for sure is happening, as in we've got tickets and everything coming up, is we have tickets to see Hadestown in November, I want to say. So we have completely collapsed in the cultural event department. All right, so there's that one, okay? There's that one. All right, so now last one. And there we go. And then I'm gonna notch this corner as well. All right. So I don't know what we're gonna do about cultural events. I mean, ultimately it's still successful because I went to 4 more cultural events this year already than I did last year. But it's been kind of a disaster since May. So, all right, so here's the last one. Okay. So now we've got to make our other slits. Kim, I've heard nothing but good things. I've never listened to the soundtrack or anything, but it's coming here for only a week. And we were like, and I had heard of it, so I thought, well, why not? So that's what we're going to do. And actually, the tickets were only available to donors at the Performing Arts Center, the Straws, that it's coming to. But my sister actually knows a donor, so she got us tickets. Okay. So I'm going to draw my line 4 inches up from the bottom of this second tag. All right, so that's how we make our slit. All right, so 4 inches up from here. So 4 inches up to there is how we get our slit. Just trying to think if I'm going to have a problem with this tag, and I don't think so. I don't think so. We'll find out. We will find out. All right. The music in Hadestown is awesome. Okay, great. I mean, I'm sure I'll listen to the soundtrack before we go and read more about it. But I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I've not heard anything but good things. And then 4 inches up from the bottom of this one, from here, this third tag is where we're going to make this line. And then at the intersection, okay, that's where we're going to punch our holes. All right. Well, I know Hades and Persephone retellings are very popular right now, just in books too. So, I'm interested to see what they do with it. I didn't get all the way through, so I'm just gonna, okay, I'm all the way through now. And again, I just put my ruler at the bottom and top of the circles that I punched, the holes that I punched. And that's how I get my slits. Okay. All right, so last one. Now, if this works, then what we're going to do is we will just trace this mess onto the other one. Okay. So, if we've done this right, then, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flatten it so that all the things are in their right spots. And let's try to put all 3 tags in. Okay, something has gone awry. Oh, I just went past it. I wasn't holding it tight enough. Hold on. All right, I'm just gonna put tape over these. I think to know if it's gonna work, we're gonna have to actually stick it down. So, let's think about a few things. So thing number 1, the pattern paper. I think we've got to come over, you know. I think we've got to come over, like, give ourselves a 1/2 inch on the sides so that we're more like here, so that we can get the pattern paper around it. So that's okay. We can do this. Here's what we're going to do. On the sides, I'm going to put this back in and then just tape it into place. Just about a 1/2 inch so that I can redo it without wasting the paper. To give myself room on the sides that I can have the paper go around. My gosh. All right. Is this going to look perfect necessarily? No. Is it going to look good enough once the pattern paper is on it? Yeah. Okay, so we want to come over. I'm just going to bring all the lines over a 1/2 inch. Okay. So that's okay. When you do yours, you know, just make sure you're 1/2 inch away from the edge, and you won't have this issue. Okay. All right, so here's where we're gonna punch our hole. And there. So. All right, and so now all I have to do is just cut this back out. And then extend it on the other side. Okay. And then that's just the piece that I stuck in there. Okay. And it's still going to catch on this little corner, I think. Not as much, so I wonder if I should put a little spacer here to keep it from going too far this way, just to help it glide down. Let's go ahead and do that. I don't even know how. Okay, so yeah, so we're looking forward to that, and then I just have to figure out some other stuff to do. Although, as far as cultural things go, we are going to, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Damien, my sister's husband, his father is a Swiss national. He has dual citizenship. Damien does, in Switzerland and the United States. And they are finally going back to Switzerland to visit since the 19 started. And they're going to bring back the cheese they used to make fondue. And they are then going to do an authentic fondue party on August 28th for the family. And we have been invited. So we're going to go to that, which is a cultural event. So that's kind of cool. All right, so I want this above the slit for the one beneath it. Okay, wow. I'm going to have to just draw a line 1/8 of an inch over. So we do have a cultural event of sorts coming up. It wasn't necessarily what... All right, so I'm going to press that into place. Just remember that this bumper, you have to keep it above this slit, above that slit. Okay, so this tag should now be able to go in. And I could extend this 1/2 inch if I wanted to. I mean, I guess I could just put another little guy there. I just don't want to... Oh no, if I move this over 1/2 inch, then this is going to have to come in 1/2 inch. So actually, no, I can't extend it 1/2 inch. Maybe we can't bring them all over 1/2 inch. Well, I'm getting rid of this because this one is too skinny. I need a... What? Oh, wow, it's still stuck in there. Oh, no, that one is not the one I tore out. Okay, think. Yeah, I do have to come over 1/2 inch for this to be functional, so we're going to have to slim this down, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll figure it out. All right. I like how this just deranged now. It just looks a mess, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, so with this piece, okay, I'm going to cut now. The way that I'm going to cut is I'm going to cut that top part, and then with this bottom part, we want to just pull it off. All right, there we go. We got it. We got it. All right. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, so now this can pass down there. Although I didn't extend this up high enough to hit the, all right, where we're gonna do our hole. La 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 la. Why did I have to have this idea? That's the real question. Why did I have to have this idea? Huh? Huh? Why didn't I just leave it alone? That was what should have happened. All right, I have to cut an 1/8 of an inch strip off of this. So we're going to make very little progress today, other than to just, if we get this done, then we can be really impressed with ourselves. We can be really impressed with ourselves. Wow, this one is still a little too small, but that's okay. It's not as small as it was before. All right. Okay, so now that we're moving everyone over, all right, and then once we've moved everyone over, we just cut this out again. All right. Okay. Woo! We're getting there. We're getting there. All right, so at least this one's the easiest one to move because we don't have to, oh, we do have to, we are going to have to cut 1/2 inch off this. I should just have, when my little brain was like, what if we made a pocket that hold 3 angled tags in a way that seemed like you couldn't hold 3 angled tags in a pocket? I should have been like, maybe people don't do that because it's really hard, and then not done it. Maybe that should have been the answer. All right, so now we have to shrinkify this one. Okay. All right, so now we punch a hole here. Punch our new holes. It will be more interesting this way. All right. Now we remove this again. And all right, now it's done. Now it's done. Okay. Oh, no, I have to connect. I have to connect. There we go. Not a big deal. All right, now it's done. Okay, so this is it. Would it be easier if you lined the pockets? Look, Candy. Of course that would be easier. I was trying to invent a new pocket, okay? All right, so all right, so okay, let's talk about problems. Problem one now. New problem is this is not far enough over. The amount that we cut off is like basically the amount that it was being held in place. So I'm just going to remove this. All right. And we're going to make a corner, I think, instead. Oh, okay. All right, so. All right, now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little corner pocket thing. So the easiest way to make a corner pocket is to take a square. It's basically we're making like a photo corner. Yes. Gretchen, that's correct. Gretchen said the problem started when we used the same notebook as the planner project. I should just burn that notebook. That notebook should just right in the recycling bin. Okay. So we have this X, okay? And now we're just gonna fold it like this. Okay. We take that, we cut out one triangle. And now we have a photo corner, okay? And we can stick our photo corner where we need to stop. And then we won't need as much of it, so I just have to figure out exactly where I want it. Actually, do I want to do a photo corner? All right, so here is where it needs to stop. And here, this line here, you see? This is the other tag that needs to pass. So really what the issue is that the piece is too narrow to do this with as much room on the sides as I want, basically. So, and this is something that can happen if you don't pre-plan exactly what you're doing. Because we have like 1/8 of an inch where they're not touching right there. 1/8 of an inch. So what to do? I don't want to abandon this. As a concept, it's just a matter of rearranging everybody. Okay, so let's, all right, I need graph paper. Good grief. Notebooks. Here we go. All right. So it's 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 by 11, which I'm not going to have the room for. So let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay. So this is our little piece. Okay. All right. So there's no problem with the bottom. The bottom is fine. No problem with the bottom. Not really that big of a problem with this one either. It's almost like their angles are too severe. I think I'm going to say that's the issue. So if they were flatter, okay, meaning if they weren't on such a steep angle, this corner would move this way a little bit. And that's really what's the issue. So what I don't know is how much I can do to fix this at this point. Yeah, these need to be, especially this one. This is the steepest one. Like, it would still be angled if I did it like that. So that's really what it is. Okay. So here's what we need. I'm going to make one that's actually 5.5 inches. So we're going to by 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 inches by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 inches. This will be a 1-to-1 replica. All right, now I'm gonna, just to remind myself to stay away from the edges, gonna give myself these dashed lines. All right, we're gonna get there. There we go. Okay. Okay, now on the front, I want this first one to be here, which means if it's on the back, it needs to be here. So bearing in mind our limitations, I'm going to rise up 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to do this in pencil first. So meaning what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up 1/4 of an inch. I mean, I could make the tag smaller. That's certainly an option as well. We could also just not do this. But now, like, the stubborn part of me is kicking in. So, all right. So there's tag number 1. Tag number 2 is going to be the same angle, basically. So what we're going to do is the same idea. I'm going to drop down 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to frame this up at the top, drop down 1/4 of an inch, and pivot up 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and that'll put those two on roughly the same angle. All right. Now, the third one is the one that goes in between the two of them. More or less, this one will be centered on the page. So this is 5 3/4 inches. This is 11. So basically 3 inches up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3. All right, so it goes here. And then we're going to raise. There we go. So here's where this one goes. All right. Okay, so now what we have to pay attention to is where they pass each other. So obviously this one can have a full bumper because it's down here on the bottom. Nothing has to pass it. This one right here, this is as big as its bumper can be. It can be a 1/2 inch though, which is enough. And then same thing here. This one can be a 1/2 inch, which is enough. It's enough. Okay. So there we go. Now to keep them in place a little bit more, let's add a side bumper here. And a side bumper here. Go ahead and add a side bumper here. And that'll help them stay in place. All right. Now, what we need to do is set our lines. So, this right here is where we want to end up, 1/4 inch below this one. So that's going to be from the bottom of the tag. That's going to be 3.5 inches. Yeah. Yes, 3.5 inches. Or no. What is this? 1, 2, 3.5. 3.5. Yeah. Why are you messing yourself up? Okay, 3.5 inches for the slit for the bottom tag. So if that one's 3.5 inches, we'll do them all 3.5 inches. And that should work. So we're going to find the bottom of this tag, 3.5 inches. That's that slit. And then this one, same thing, we'll go up 3.5 inches. And there and there. Okay, so we've got our 3 tags. We've got our slits. We've got our bumpers. Our bumpers have clearance for all 3 tags. So this is the way to do it. So this can be a template now. Because it is more or less to scale. It's just not very neat. So, okay, how do I want to do? I think this one is toast. Yeah, we have to start over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the undo from these flaps. Or not remove the undo. I'm going to use undo to remove these flaps. So I can at least reuse the flaps. And then we'll get to work on making a version of this template. Okay, these are not coming up easily. I'm just going to trash it. All right. So, okay, now we just have to redo this. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw it all out on the back. Like this. And I'll use a pen for some of it so that it'll be easier to see on camera. Okay, so this is the final version. Maybe. All right, so we're going to draw a line 1/2 inch in from each edge. I have to move this off my desk, so I'm going to put it somewhere where I can see it. You won't be able to see it, but I can still see it. La 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 la. All right. So, got our 1/2 inch guidelines. Okay, now, because this is a grid, we know that this corner, this bottom corner here, is 3/4 of an inch in from the side. And then it goes up 1/4 of an inch. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to draw, this time pencil. And just down here at the bottom, so I don't get this too confusing, I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch in. Or 1/4 inch in from my 1/2 inch line. So that gives me the 3/4 inches in. And then I'm going to draw a 1/4 inch in down here because it's got to come up to the 3/4 inch line. Okay, so look how it's so organized. It's like I know what I'm doing now. All right. All right, so this corner, the intersection of the pencil line and this ink line, that's where the corner starts. And then over here is on this pencil line is where the corner ends. So what I mean by that is you put the corner here on this first line, corner 1 on the first line, corner 2 on the third, on the pencil line. That gives you your rise. Okay. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to hold it up. All right, so you can see that 3/4 inch line I drew is where it starts, and then that other 3/4 inch line that I drew up from the bottom is where it ends. So it starts on this pen line 3/4 of an inch in, and it ends 3/4 of an inch up over here. Okay. All right. So that's piece number 1. So next, we're going to come up from the bottom of the tag 3.5 inches to get our slit. All right. So there's the slit. Okay. So here and here, that's where we punch our holes. Okay? So, and then here is where we put our little flap. All right, and in fact, I can just, let's just make a flap. All right, so I'm just going to fold along the score line and burnish, and then put 3/8 inch tape on either side. I'm getting ink all over myself somehow, but okay. Now, I'm just going to cut this into 2-inch, I'm going to cut 2-inch strips off of it. And that's what we'll use for the 2 pieces. Okay. All right. So, and then we'll just put it right there. Wait, I can't put these on yet because they're going to need to go over the flaps. So they don't go on yet. Okay, that's fine. Not the end of the world. We are still in good shape. Okay. All right. So that's tag number 1. All right. Tag number 2. Tag number 2 comes up from the edge 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. So 3 inches up, and then and then it ends 3/4 of an inch up. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do a line 3 inches up. And then 3/4 of an inch. All right. So pencil. Here's my pencil line for corner number 1, and then I'm just going to come 1/4 of an inch up from that pencil line, and that'll be line number 2. Okay. So that's how small our rise is. We want to have a relatively small rise. Okay, so now it's just a matter of kind of getting this into position so that you hit all 3 points. So you want to hit here on your 1/2 inch pen line, here on your lower pencil line, and here on your upper pencil line. Once you get all 3 of those, go ahead and trace your tag. All right. Okay. Now, here is where you're going to put your tab right there. Okay? So that's going to be your bumper. And then if you want, you can do a side bumper as well. Okay? And then I forgot how many inches it's up. It's 3.5, right? Yeah, 3.5 inches up from the bottom of the tag is where we'll do our slit. So 3.5 inches up from the bottom of the tag. You only have to make one of these once you get it right. All right. All right, so this is not where we want to put our bumper. Okay, so we'll put our bumper below it. Okay. All right. So there's tag number 2. There's its corner stopper and its side bumper to help it keep its shape. So now we just have to put our third tag. Okay. So our third tag, we come up. All right, our third tag, we come up 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches. So our third tag, our final tag is 4.5 to 4 3/4. So we're going to draw a 4.5 inch line and a 4 3/4 inch line. It seems so easy this way, doesn't it? Huh. All right, so I drew my 4.5 inch line, and this is my 4 3/4 inch line. All right, so that's these two lines. So same thing as before, one corner here, one corner here, one corner over there. Okay. All right, now that that's on there, 3.5 inches up from the bottom of the tag. Let me draw the bottom of the tag with a pen just so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so that pen line there is the bottom of the tag that we're going to draw 3.5 inches up from. All right, so this is where we're going to draw our line for our slit. And that means we can put our bumper here on the side and here on the corner. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is erase some of these guidelines. Maybe so it looks a little bit more sane. So we can get a better look at what it really looks like. So So you can see here with this first tag that there's not as many things on it as it looks like, you know, on the back. All right. So these are where we're going to make our cuts. Here, here, and here. And that will make a template that we can then trace on the other two. And then we'll be able to just use little bits like these guys to stick everybody together. And then our side strips as well should work. Should work, right? This should work. Okay, let's cut. This is really nerve-wracking. This is really nerve-wracking. Okay, let's punch our holes. Now we'll have to, I was going to say we might have to repunch our holes, but actually maybe I'll just do a half inch strips. I'll just cut the strips down. Okay, so we've got our little holes, our 6 holes. All right. And then this one. So one of the things that we've done is back when we thought Stormy had a kidney problem and it could be managed with a special diet, is we ordered some of those automatic robot cat feeders that use the RFID chips in the cat's shoulders to open for the cat whose food is in it. And we'll be returning his bowl, of course. But we are keeping the other 2 so that Kitty's diet will be easier to manage so that she can finally lose the weight that she needs to lose. And let me just tell you, it has not... It could be going better. It could be going better. Let me show you a picture of day 1. This is day 1. This is day 1. Kitty just was like not having it. She was like, no, forget this. This is not happening. Nuh-uh. Day 2, trying to sneak her paw in to get Tiny Cat's crunchies. Oh, goodness. And then Tiny Cat, you know, she periodically just forgets how the bowls work. So she just lays there on the floor wondering why they won't open. Or sometimes she just sits there and stares at them wondering why they won't open. All right. So we can just trace this now. Yeah, but sometimes Tiny Cat's like, I don't know, I tried to open it with my mind and it didn't open. And it's like, well, that's too bad. That's too bad, Tiny Cat. The other problem is that Tiny Cat thinks Kitty's food is better than her food. So she just wants to eat Kitty's food instead of her food. So I just, yeah, I mean, food should just appear, right? Food should just appear. If this was a just world, food would just appear. If it was. You do have to have a mind for that to work, and that is Tiny Cat's problem. My sister says of Tiny Cat, we should have the vet do an MRI to find out how she operates without a brain. Poor Tiny Cat. She's a sweet cat, but she's not winning the National Honor Society. So, poor thing. All right, so earlier, remember when I saved that big piece and used scraps instead of the big piece because I said it might be useful to have a big piece? We can now use this to make the third one. And that'll give us a couple strips as well. All right, so now we can now, to be fair to Tiny Cat, Kitty's food does cost more than her food because, you know, she has to eat, I guess, calorically thin, nutritionally dense food. So, you know, it's a higher quality food you know, so fine. But, and we are going to switch Tiny Cat to more nutritious food now that we've learned so much about cat food. But she's going to have to eat her trash food first. That's just how it is, Tiny Cat. I'm sorry. You have to eat your bologna before you can get upgraded to ham sandwiches. Yeah, Kitty is on a keto diet. She very much is. She actually has almost no carbs whatsoever in her food. It's very expensive for that reason, I think, because it can't have, there's just not a lot of filler. But Kitty is basically on a keto diet right now. Her food, the company unironically calls their wet food solid gold. That's like, that's, I was just like, I hate it here. I hate it here. Well, Jill, what we've been doing is we have been putting a few sprinkles of Kitty's food in Tiny's food so it smells like Kitty's food to help, and that does help. That does help. So anyway, so Kitty eats solid gold food. It's a lot of fish, big chunks of fish, and I think that's how she gets, you know, protein and nutrients without a lot of calories compared to chicken or whatever else. And their bowls have scales in them so that we can, you know, add the right amount of food and all of that. But, you know, Kitty's adjusting more than Tiny Cat, and I think it's because Kitty, from her perspective, she got a food upgrade because she gets to eat more food in terms of volume than she was before because it has a lot fewer calories. And so, and of course the food is much higher quality because it needs to be to make sure she gets all her nutritional needs met. So from her perspective, aside from the fact that she can't eat Tiny's food, which she finds very annoying, you know, she's more or less okay with it. It's really Tiny Cat that's sad. And it's specifically Kitty's crunchies that she wants to eat. And to be fair to Tiny Cat, I just have a lowly human nose, but when I open Kitty's food, I smell the food more. It smells more like chicken than when I open Tiny Cat's food. So I do think that, you know, she can tell it's just, you know, better or whatever, but I mean, it just is what it is, Tiny Cat. Kitty's food is so expensive. You can't just be eating it. So Kitty's eating, you know, like Ferrari food right now, and Tiny Cat is eating like bus food. So we need to get her in a Toyota. You know, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get Tiny in a Toyota as soon as she's, you know, finished her bus ticket. Her bus pass. When her bus pass is empty, she can get a Toyota. So, but she's not going to get a Ferrari because she is not overweight. So, and if Kitty ever gets back to a normal weight, we'll just switch her to normal food, to Toyota food. But I learned some really harrowing stuff about cat food the last month. So, I mean, it's shocking. It's just some of them are so bad. It's crazy. Your daughter's 3 dogs are all on special food for allergies and weight. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Okay. All right. So we've got our 3. Oh, wow. Interesting. I did one of them different, but that's okay. That's okay. Because we can just do 1, flip 1. You know what I mean? So, but just that's something to be aware of when you do yours. Okay. All right. So we have gotten to a point where when we come back tonight, we should be able to just add all of our strips and then start decorating these pockets, because they all are, you know, good to go. So, okay. All right, we made it. We made it to some semblance of order and sanity. So I think I have a good feeling when we come back tonight, we'll be in, oh, I can just turn it over because I'm a genius. Just turn it over. Just turn it over. Let's not worry about it. Okay, we will decide tonight. We'll vote on whether we're going to turn it over or flip-flop them. But we're now in a position where we can start to work on, yeah, I am going to put paper on first because I think it'll be much easier to put the paper on in this state when they're still flat, especially because I can use this as a template so we can cut slits in the paper so that the paper surrounds the cardstock slit, so you'll see the cardstock mat, almost like a mat. That's what I want to do. So we'll use like a 1/4 inch hole punch on the paper to get the paper to go around the slits. So we'll work on all that tonight. So so when we come back, we'll be working on the fronts of these, actually making sure we get the fronts all set, and then also working on the tags themselves, getting the tags ready to go in. Because I do think I want to cut off their border and then mat them on the green cardstock that we chose for the other pages. I think that'll be nicer because it'll just match our album better. It'll coordinate better. But we did pretty good. We I don't know, did we invent a new kind of pocket? Maybe we did. I don't know. I haven't seen every pocket out there. It's new for me. It's new for me. We'll call it the bumper pocket. Well, I'm sure we'll see it again now that I've mastered it. So we're definitely not using this book because it says it's totally not cursed, probably. But I think this is more accurate. I think that's more accurate. Definitely. So thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I'll be back tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern USA time. We will continue working on these totally not cursed, probably pockets. The bumper pockets. We will be back tonight to work on the bumper pockets. And hopefully get some cool decorating done. I'm looking forward to that, and then we can get them in the books. It'll be fun. Fun. These pockets are going to be fun once we get going on them, I think. So thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I'm live every Thursday from 2 p.m. Eastern USA time to 4 p.m. Eastern USA time, and then again from 9 p.m. Eastern USA time to 11 p.m. Eastern USA time. 9 p.m. Eastern USA time is 5 hours from now, so whatever time it is where you are now, just add 5 hours. That's when I'll be back. And we will continue with this project. There is a YouTube playlist for the parts in the project that have come before that you can check out. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this in the archives, then all the other videos are in the folder. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next class. Bye now.